Woke ideologies are a complete and utter waste of time, and
white people who are crap at their jobs, who give jobs to other white people who are all
Are you saying there are people of colour who are not crap at their jobs? Are you seriously
Of course there
saying
are, but
that?
the fact is
Are there
the
not
barriers...
gay people who are crap at their jobs?
There are, not on this panel, but there are. The fact is,
I beg to differ on that.
People give jobs to people like them. And
Would
if
you
you're
like to
breaking
make
down
way?
those barriers, you need to have targets.
As a contracted employee of GB News, would you be happy to make way for somebody that ticks a box?
Well, I tick the box because I'm gay.
Are you happy to die on that altar? Yeah, but you're white, aren't you?
Well, look, if all these panels were all white, then
You're
I might...
woke ideologies are a complete and utter waste of time, and I don't care.
Correct. Woke ideology is inherently divisive, and it just does the opposite of what they claim they're trying to do in society. For example, there was this presenter on GB News, and I'm actually going to write to GB News, and he was literally there saying, this is what he said, and I quote, not word for word, but this was the gist of what he said. He was saying, white people hire other white people who are crap at their jobs, and that's why we need diversity hires. I mean, that is one of the most powerfully racist things I've ever heard anybody say in my life. Number one, anybody can be bad at their jobs. It's not white people specific. Number two, the way we look at instances of maybe, bias hiring is not by barring certain races from being hired in the first place. That is just racism, straight racism. And we see examples of this like in the RAF or in the military, where they were trying to hire white straight, they were trying to hire people, but they were refusing white men basically because they wanted diversity. That is a policy that is so racist, and it is built to divide us. And now that we've been all asked to be conscripted into the army, we see that was a policy only to divide, because now that they want us to die, all of us to die, so that they can make money and American defense contracting companies can make money, they don't care about diversity anymore. All of a sudden, if they open the floodgates, anyone can join, no barriers. So that's one thing. Number two, going back to the example of the GB News presenter, and I don't know his name, I will find it. So he was literally on GB News, literally saying, he was saying, some white people are bad at their jobs, and they hire other people who are bad at their jobs just because they're white. So it's just disgusting rhetoric. But for example, I have learning disabilities. So as a natural byproduct, I'm going to be a little less good at my job just because of the fact that I have brain damage. Now, when you have people who are pretending to advocate for communities of color, putting out a narrative that, all people of color, which is so insulting to people of color, all people of color need a help up and a diversity hire. When I, for example, enter the world of work, and naturally where I'm making mistakes, or just because of the fact that I simply have a learning disability, instead of making that workplace a good environment for me, instead of people looking at me as just somebody who's got learning disabilities who just needs help, which is just a natural human reaction. Humans want to normally help each other. That man would have helped to solidify in their minds that I've only been hired because of my race, and that other people have been denied who would have been better simply because of their race. And as a response to that, his rhetoric increases the likelihood that I will not be helped or treated fairly. So, where he's pretending to advocate for, it's a pretense, it's a fiction to advocate for people who may be of color and by chance have learning disabilities, actually damaging them. And it's more consolidated in the fact that his co-presenters asked him in that moment, well, will you give up your job for a person of color or an ethnic minority? And he refused. So this is all narcissism. It's this woke ideology is narcissistic. It's actually a version of white supremacism. It's this self-deprecating narcissism, and I do not accept it. And I would challenge GB News. Actually, I would like that presenter's job. I will happily accept that presenter's job, but I know that, as he said, he will not give it up. So if you're not willing to stand by your so-called ideology, then I think it's better for him just not to speak at all. The woke ideology hurts us all, but it hurts ethnic minorities the most. And that's all I have to